50,001 miles. Okay, so 50,001 miles, well now 2 miles, 50,002 miles on the bike, in 2 years, and here's what, if he's out running for his health. And here's what I've experienced. Let's start with the top of the bike and work the way down. When I got the bike, I had still have it, a Road Zeppelin saddle, so I got the taller windshield when I use that saddle for long distance riding, or when I'm using the Harley hammock heated saddle, which the Harley hammock heated saddle that I have is off of a 2014 Screaming Eagle or CVO bike. Let's see, working across, let's see the vent in the fairing, it's okay. I went from a 2009 to this fairing. At the time when I test rode a 2014, I did not see a lot of difference or feel a lot of difference in the buffeting of my head with the helmet. So it's not that big of a deal. However, since then I've kind of gotten used to how it feels both with it open and closed, and depending on what helmet I have on, how much of a difference it makes. So that's helpful. Yeah, there's some traffic. What the heck's all this? Well, that sucked. Uh-oh. That stinks. Yeah, the vent, like I said, depends on what helmet I have on. The fairing vents to the left and right of the fairing, very helpful when it's hot out. I'll open them up depending on the temperature, direct them to have more wind blow onto me. It's very nice. I highly recommend them if you don't have them, because in the winter they help block the wind off you a lot more. My Samsung Galaxy Note 3 cannot fit in that pocket, so I use that pocket for other things, store other things, because with the twin cooled system, Harley in their wisdom decided that the fairing lowers didn't need to open, at least open easily. On the right fairing lower, behind it you have the reservoir for the cooling system. On the left fairing lower you have empty space before you hit the housing for the area for the fan and radiator. If you notice, I put a little strap down there so I can pop that off, and what I do is I'll put, like if you get a little bit of gasoline on your hands, you want to wipe it off your rag or on your bike, you have a little rag down there you can grab real quick, because not all gas stations have paper towels. Also, we'll put the saddle cover in there when it's wet, after it gets wet from the rain or dew. So that's nice. Harley, you should have at least allowed that thing to open and close. One idea I had is, because it does get warm, is to maybe put a little sandwich or something in there to kind of warm it up, you know, in a Ziploc bag or whatever. It'd be kind of cute. Fuel door. replaced that button that comes standard with the lock. I don't like the idea of just anybody walking up and opening it up. Now, I know those of us that ride know the deal as far as the lock goes on these fuel doors, so I'm not going to go into that. But those that don't ride, kind of deters them a little bit. Now, what else have I noticed? I noticed on my trip out west, depending on what charger I had in the trunk plugged into the port, on my radio reception. I have one charger that apparently likes to trip the the weather alert system on the bike. And speaking of radios, the infotainment system with the touch screen and the map, oh, it's great. It is so nice just to be able to see the road ahead of you. When I do group rides, I'll look a little bit ahead, or if I'm out riding in unfamiliar territory, I'll use it to look a little bit ahead. Very helpful. This bike's been great in a lot of ways. The stage 1 and the exhaust system are helpful. You gave it a little bit more oomph, quite a bit of chomp or buck to it when you really get on it, if you're not running your IPM hard enough, or excuse me, high enough. You may find it annoying, and if you do, then you could probably look into getting like a Fuel Pack 3 or some other add-on tuner, kind of fine-tune the system a little bit. I know whenever the dealership added these things, they put it on the map and they dyno tuned it, but even then, over time, you know, your components change, your parameters change. Heck, even fuel can change a little bit. Like when I found out when I went out west, that high octane out there is not the same as high octane here. Positives, love the sound of the street cannons. They're not overly loud, but they got enough oomph to them. You know, I'd have been fine with stock exhaust. I'm not the type that likes everybody to know where I am or where I went. I know there's a big debate on whether or not loud pipes save lives, but I'm not going to get into that. Now, for the cons, I'll start from the bottom of the bike and work my way up. I actually had a street cannon on the right side. If you look through my videos, you'll see a video of where it blew the stuffing out, or the sound deadening material out. That was very disappointing. And I found out from the extended warranty group that it was not covered. So I had to buy another set of street cannons and put on there. It was right before my trip out west. Worked the way forward on the exhaust system. The twin cooling does not pull down the exhaust temperature very significantly, because you can see it, my chaps, the leather's been tanned, it's shrunk a little bit. When I did my trip out west, I actually had a couple pair of jeans get singed through the heat shield because of the temperature of the catalytic converter. And I also, one late night on my way back, riding for 15 hours straight, and I looked out at night and I saw the header glowing underneath the heat shield. Working the way forward at 31,000 miles, the coolant pump went out. Of course, it went through the same growing pains as everybody else. So the coolant leak, the filler neck. I have had the filler neck clamp, or O-ring, however you want to call it. It's the last time they called it an O-ring. I've had it replaced twice. That's a bit disappointing. You think it'd be else that affected everybody else affected this bike. Just like with my 09, I've gone through 2 sets of wheel bearings. I'm on my 3rd set of wheel bearings on the front end now. That's disappointing. And if you look through my videos, you'll see a video on when to know what the one of the early signs of a wheel bearing on these bikes going out, what it sounds like. Other problems with it. The radio updates sometimes are a little quirky. At one point we actually had talkback capability when we hit the CV, push the talk button. We could hear ourselves through the speakers in our headsets, which is great because then you know if you were talking too loud or too soft. But that's gone by the wayside depending on what update you're running. And that's kind of disappointing. The push to talk button, push to talk buttons on the right side. In 2013 and older, it was on the left side, which made sense because that's not where your throttle is. You can move around with that. This side, unless you have cruise control on, you got to use it for your throttle. So I push the talk button. You know, you have to move your hand. If you don't have cruise on, it makes it kind of hard to do it. You definitely cannot do it in curves. Another issue I noticed too is the hand mic. You know, like old Parts and John used to use. It doesn't work with these. Originally the parts catalog said it would, but it does not. Which is kind of disappointing because, you know, there were times where I didn't want everything and I just had the, you know, like a headset on, I just had the hand mic on the 09. I love the voice command, but if your mic is slightly obscured, it doesn't always hear you correctly. Excuse me, yeah. The passing lamps on the headlight pattern, it's pretty much a half circle, but if you're going through a curve, you'll end up with this flat edge. So I rotated the passing lamps 180 degrees, just the bulbs, and that gives me a full circle of light, which is nice at night. So I do ride when it's dark a lot. Under the bike, since I got it, put these leather grip covers on, and that was because the sunscreen on your hands was making the rubber kind of demylate. These put over your grips, they look nice with the color scheme, and the heated grips still work fine. And then the other thing I did is on the rear fender in 2013 and older, there was a bumper below the rear fender. It was not really super functional, but it made the bike look a little bit lower. So when I do a walk around of the bike, you'll see what I'm talking about. There it is, 2014 Harley Ultra Limited, Amber Whiskey Vivid Black. When they came out with the bike in 2014, the color scheme, they also had an Amber Whiskey and Silver. The Amber Whiskey Vivid Black got carried over to 2015 and 2016, so it's like everybody and their cousin can get one, which is great, I guess. The dealership I bought it from put the black front end kit on it, the black crash bar on it. They also put the black heat shields, the Stage 1 air kit with Screaming Eagle insert, the Street Cannon exhaust. I added the rear bumper to kind of drop the back of the bike down a little bit, to tie in the silver and black with the exhaust. In fact, forgive the clutter, I had the guy who did all the accessories sign the inside of the tour pack bid, which is great. Sean Wells. I think he's still at that dealership, I'm not sure. But, so let me show you some of the issue when your exhaust gets too hot. You see that mount bolt right there? Underneath the transmission? It shouldn't be corroded to that extent. That's because this exhaust really does bake. Even with the twin cool system, it doesn't do great. You know, like I said, it shrank up the leather there, and I've had jeans get singed. I forgot to list this, but the headlight looks a little milky. Not a big deal. Still see okay at night. But let's see how my preview's looking. But all in all, the bike does pretty good. I enjoy it. It's comfortable. The heated Harley hammock saddle off of Screaming Eagle. I rerouted the power charging cord for the trickle charger. I put it up there so I can get to it easier when I park the bike in the garage. Got the short whips stock. Got the long whips. Huh. Well, look at there. Somebody's done run off with one of my antenna ends. Oh, jerks. Not a biggie. That's the CB antenna. I can get another one. Not a big deal. Things happen. I mean, it's not known for a fact somebody run off with it. Let's see. Suspension. At 50,000 miles, the shop manual says I need to change the fork oil, which I wanted to look at possibly upgrading the front suspension, but Harley, the parts catalog online doesn't have all the kits on it, so I need to get one of the shop manuals. I mean, parts catalogs at the dealership. Rear suspension. The new bikes have that twisty knob. This has the air suspension. I prefer the air because I can get to it without having to pull the saddlebag off. I don't know how you guys are going to dial in your suspension with that saddlebag there. If you have stuff in it, you're going to have to unload it and pull it off, and I think that's just too much work. Oh, backstory. Why is there this brass screw? Well, on my way back on my trip on Route 66, it was between, well, it was in the Grand Canyon, just east of Flagstaff, in fact. It wasn't in the Grand Canyon, but it was east of Flagstaff. The clutch got really soft, so actually had to stop and check the level. It looked milky. The hydraulic fluid looked milky, so I opened it up and one of the screws escaped. And so I was in New Mexico, and myself and some other guys were crawling around the parking lot trying to find that darn screw, and we couldn't find it. Luckily, there's a hardware store next to the place I stopped, and I went in and matched this screw up with the threads and got a nice looking brass screw. I think it gives it a little character. But there you go. And this bike's name is Snot Rod because my 2009 was the Red Hot Lava Sunglow, and its name was Lightning. My son named it that. If you know anything about kid movies, you know where those names come from, and this one is Snot Rod because of the color scheme. So, happy 50,000 mile birthday to you, Snot Rod. Look forward to getting another 50,000 on you. It should be great. I mean, I've done it in 2 years. It shouldn't be a problem getting it in another 2 to 3 years. So I plan, if the engine excuse me, if the engine ever self-destructs, I wonder how hard it'd be to go to the 110 oil-cooled kit like they have for the Ultra instead of this hybrid twin-cooled setup. I think it'd be pretty easy, mechanically wise, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, share. Feel free to send me any comments, and I'll talk to you guys later.